Alright guys, tonight I thought I would make a video, kind of a sporadic video I've been thinking about during the week. Because most recently I showed a game that I picked up called Ultima, the False Prophet, and it got me to thinking, man, I picked up this game not knowing one thing about it because of how cool the artwork was on the game. This ties into how old games, the artwork on the front, and the still shots, of course, and the short little description of the game meant everything back in the day when it came to selling a game to you. Nowadays, when you look at a video game, a modern game such as Doom, The Elder Scrolls on PS4, that sort of stuff, Destiny, when you look at the back and the front, it basically looks like a giant IGN ad. There's not really that good at artwork on the front that grabs your attention like old games used to do. And then when you look at the descriptions for the games, it's basically just IGN ads or Polygon things saying 5 out of 10, 3 out of 100, whatever. 3 out of 100, like an IGN would score anything that low. They'd never get a game again. It's always like 10 out of 10, 5 out of 5, best game I've ever played through the entire year. And you'll get like a very short, maybe 4-line description of what the game is, but it's not really what the game actually is. Based on modern video games, we all know that descriptions on games are shit, and most of the reviews on games are shit, especially if they're paid for, like if they're coming from IGN. But anyway, that's a little offshoot, it's something for another video. Today's video, though, I thought I'd go over my top 5 Super Nintendo game art of the carts that I own. Of course, the Super Nintendo library is vast. It's huge. So I have not seen, and I'm sure most people that collect games have not seen the entire library of Super Nintendo game art. But for the games that I do own, I picked out my top 5 that I think are the best and coolest looking. This doesn't have to do with anything with gameplay. This doesn't have to do with the game overall or anything. This just has to do with how cool the artwork is. Because artwork actually meant something back in the time. Even if the game really wasn't that good, if the artwork was cool enough, it kind of gave it a pass. It was kind of worth keeping because it was like having a small little poster on a box or on a cart. I don't know how to explain it really, but I'm sure anyone that grew up with these games knows what I'm talking about. I mean, compare Doom, the very first Doom game artwork, to the Doom that came out in 2015. It's not that good if you look at the comparison. Trust me. Number 5 on the list is Zombies Ate My Neighbors. Now what I love about this game's artwork is it looks like classical 1950s stereotype of what a zombie movie would have looked like. You've got the green looking zombies with the kind of Batman looking background whenever they would go, punch people, be like kabow, zing, like comic book artwork. And of course you got the stereotypical woman that you would see in the 1950s. For some reason this was a thing in horror films from like the 50s all the way up to the 80s, even the very early 90s, where women would reach up at the top of their head like they're pulling their hair out of their head and scream. For some reason that was like a stereotypical thing for women to do in horror movies. Trust me, look it up. The very first zombie film ever to be created, Night of the Living Dead, you can see it. The main character, the woman, does do that over and over again. Evil Dead, 1979, I think when that movie came out. Ash's sister does it. 1990s, I think in Scream, the main character does it. For some reason, that was just a stereotypical thing for women to do in horror films. But I love this artwork. Even though, when you're looking at it, it gives you no real depiction of what the game is, the artwork itself just looks like a very awesome poster. I would want that poster in my office somewhere. Number 4 on the list, The Secret of Mana. Now, not only is Secret of Mana a very, very good game, But like I said, the artwork for this game is incredibly good, and the cover art for this makes you feel like you're going to go on a grand journey. You've got 3 characters looking into this vast wilderness with these beautiful colors of pink flamingos flying by, and everything's very vibrant and awesome looking. It makes you take a second glance. If I was a kid back in the 90s when this game came out, which I was, and I saw this box in the store as I'm walking by, it would grab my attention just because the way it looks is you're gonna go on a Zelda type adventure. And it's the funny thing, the games that you would think that were the most influential at the time on the Super Nintendo had not very good artwork. Look at The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. All it is, just like most Zelda games, well, the early Zelda games, have nothing but the title on it. And maybe a sword or a shield. Doesn't grab you very much. But the Secret of Mana actually gave you a picture saying, I'm going to go on this grand journey. So for that, it makes it on. Number 3 on the list is Cybernator. Cybernator's artwork looks amazing. I love mech games, and I love games where, even if it's not a mech game, I love games where giant robots are in the artwork. Especially in the 90s or the 80s, they look incredible. And in this game, it looks like a giant robot is ripping through some base, blasting up everyone, while they're trying to run away like it's a Godzilla movie. The artwork for that game looks amazing. It's another game where I would want a poster of it, and the game, luckily, is just as good as the artwork. Number 2 on the list is Ultima: The False Prophet. Yes, the game that I just acquired. I think the artwork for this game is badass. You've got this guy that looks like he's probably a mage or something like that. It looks like a Zelda fantasy game. Of course, I haven't played it, but I'm pretty sure the Ultima games are fantasy games. I know someone that knows all about Ultima is going to be like, actually, but no, that's what it looks like to me. I haven't gotten to play it yet. But this artwork for the game looks amazing. You've got this guy that looks like a mage fighting a demon. And this demon's artwork is incredible. The demon looks like something out of Creepshow. Like, kind of like the Father's Day skit from Creepshow. Like, I want my cake, except for it actually has a spread of demon wings. That artwork to me is like that demon in this artwork looks way cooler than the demon from Demon's Crest. That looks like a demon. Demon's Crest kind of looks like a cartoon demon that you would see the Doom Marine blow his fucking head off. And number 1 on the list has to be Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Turtles in Time. The artwork for this game is legendary among anybody that knows anything about retro games or anybody that grew up in that time frame playing that game. The artwork is incredible. You get a full-blown story in the artwork alone, showing you different bosses in the background as well as different time eras that you're going to be zapped to within the game. Not only that, it also gives you game mechanics that you're going to be playing in the game. Like, one turtle is on one of the hoverboards, I believe. There's a train, there's a pirate ship, and there's a freaking Foot Clan soldier riding a dinosaur. This artwork for this game is by far one of the best in the Super Nintendo library, if not the highest or best artwork you could get from a Super Nintendo game, in my opinion. Now, am I very nostalgic for this game? Is this one of the legendary games on the Super Nintendo? Yes, of course, to both those things. But you cannot argue or play down that the artwork for this game is incredible. In my opinion, this game art is the standard of how all Super Nintendo games, not to mention all games, should be in general. The people that made this game took their time. They made the effort to make sure this was going to depict not only the legendary status Ninja Turtles already had, but depict the game as a whole. You see this, and you see so many things in one cover art that you cannot even focus on exactly what you're gonna play. You just know it's gonna. And what I love about this the most is the turtles hold their character form of what you would expect the turtles to look like in the 1980s and the 1990s. Sure, they have different color masks which vary from the comic book, but they actually look like the Ninja Turtles. They don't look like the stupid shit how the turtles look in the most recent years within the movies. It drives me crazy how they look now. Almost to the point where it's unwatchable because they are so shitty looking. But it's Michael Bay, and fuck all that shit. I just don't like it at all. But the turtles look like the turtles in this. You can decipher immediately that these are the turtles. A kid that is 5 years old, growing up right now, only knows the turtles that they've seen in the movies most recently. And if you showed them these turtles, they'd probably be like, those look stupid. You know, that's how kids are nowadays. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'd love to know your opinions and comments in the comment section below of what your top 5 game artworks of games that you might own. And also your opinion on what you think of the games I think are the best artworks. Of course, like I said, I haven't seen them all, and I don't own every single Super Nintendo game in the library. Otherwise, I'd probably make a video showing. I know some of you are probably screaming at your screen saying, why didn't you say Super Metroid? Super Metroid has got some very awesome cover art. But to me, I think some of these were just a tiny bit better than Super Metroid. Also, on a side note, if you guys enjoyed this and you want to see my top 5 for NES games artwork, or Nintendo 64 artwork, PlayStation 1 artwork, PlayStation 2 artwork, let me know in the comments section. And if you also want to know my in-depth thoughts, and while also seeing me play Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time, the video is within the video library of this channel. Anyway, guys, I hope you have a good night, and I will see you later. I am out.